the last drop. Are you gonna blow your head off? Take good aim and don't forget to duck. Life sucks every Monday and all the way to Sunday, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't care how you're doing, what's up or how's it hanging. I'd like to buy this world one last drink. Life sucks all of the time, stick it up your sunshine, and then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day.
Welcome to The Crazy Life. My name's Jen, and with me is my co-host, Bryan. Hey, Bryan.
Hey.
How's your week been?
Slow.
Yeah?
Slow yet busy. I don't know if that's, spending all sorts of time planning things for podcasts and such. So.
You seem to be in a better mood than last week.
Yeah, you wouldn't think I would be. I'm on the 5th day of a migraine. So.
Ooh.
Normally when I'm at this point, I'm usually just, curled up in bed with my banky and crying. So.
Like most people would be.
Yeah. So, how's your week been?
Actually, it's been fairly good. My boyfriend has had a lot of time off lately, so that's been kind of fun. And we've been taking the motorcycle out because the weather's been nice. So.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so it's been pretty cool. Everything's been going really well, and and we're currently dog sitting. So I am in a house with 2 cats and a dog now, which is very interesting, especially when you're trying to have, your brain's telling you you're not in a good place, but then you have a dog running around farting. So
right.
It
The dog is just making social commentary. That's all. It's just...
Yes.
Yeah.
Your mental state sucks.
Yep.
There you go.
Yep.
So it's been a pretty good week. Things have been pretty up, and I've not done very well with my challenge.
Yeah, nor did I.
No. My laundry, it made it upstairs, and it is clean, but it is in the basket.
So still not put away.
Still not put away.
Right.
And the dishes are now in the drainer, but still not put away. So, yeah. Seems like that was a good challenge for me because it didn't get done. So it
right.
was quite the challenge.
Maybe you should have started with putting a dish away, or
when in doubt, make it smaller.
Just picture you wash the dishes, you put one dish away, next thing you know you're running around the room like you're Rocky at the top of the steps, arms in the air, and
You know what though? There is something to be said about you have to celebrate the little stuff.
Yeah.
Because living with mental illness, sometimes the big stuff, it's just too much. You can't.
Yeah.
You just can't even think about it, can't even look at it. So sometimes it is just getting up, putting the one dish away.
Yep.
Bringing the dishes to the kitchen.
Right.
Success.
Yeah. Well, taking the laundry to the bedroom, rather than leaving it in the living room or wherever the laundry is, that could be easily a victory because, you could just leave it, somewhere else and just, whatever. I mean, I'm terrible about it too. I wash my clothes and I'll just leave a lot of them in my laundry bag and just pull out of socks and underwear or whatever. They don't need to be folded. So,
Exactly. I mean, shoot, the bedroom's upstairs, so it's a flight of stairs. I made it up a flight of stairs with a basket of clothes.
Right, so you made it closer.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, the baby steps,
right.
So I thought today we would talk about something we've kind of been skirting the last couple episodes, which is things to say and things not to say when someone has a mental illness. Because we all know that it's being a loved one and friend to someone with a mental illness is very difficult, and by no means, as we go through, I've got a couple lists, and as we go through things, I want to make sure everybody understands that if you've said these things to someone with mental illness, it doesn't make you bad.
No, it's very similar to like at a funeral. Like, and I say that only because like people just never really know what to say because they know I'm sorry for your loss or this. It just doesn't really do anything, and you want to help, but you just can't really. It's very similar with a lot of mental illness stuff, like a lot
Absolutely.
of stuff, which we'll get into. It's very similar. A lot of the stuff that you think sounds positive or whatever, it's just like, and most of the time it's because you've heard it just so many times, or it just doesn't work.
And a lot of things get said out of frustration.
True.
It's horribly frustrating for both the person with illness and the other people who love them and are around them. It's horribly frustrating and maddening.
Yeah.
You get angry.
I saw.
Sorry.
Go ahead. I saw a depression comics, like one of the depression comics that I mentioned, I think on the first episode, that was kind of about that. Like it's a person sitting there looking at someone, basically going, you're better than this. You don't deserve this. I know I'm dragging you down. But I can't help myself. But it's like I need you here. Kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And it's
you are my life preserver.
Right. Even though really they're not, because you'll find that without that person, it depends on where you're at in your stages. You might feel pretty close to the same, or worse or better, or I don't, wherever you are.
And it's don't beat yourself up ultimately, and just be aware, as we all are. I think everybody's seen the picture or has heard the story, of if you take a plate, throw it on the ground, it shatters. Say, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Does that affect the plate?
The first time I heard that, I was like, finally, because I've been saying stuff like that to people for years. It's very similar to, Rafiki with Simba. When he hits him and says, it's in the past. And be like, but it hurts. And be like, yeah, the past can hurt. It's like, exactly, that right there. It's that whole, you can say you're sorry a million times, but it doesn't undo the broken plate. It's a perfect analogy.
Absolutely. And just with everything, it's awareness. Be aware of what you say and how it can affect people. And, as we go through life, I think that's a lesson everybody learns, not just with mental illness, but with everything.
Right.
You got to really think before you speak.
Well, we're constantly being taught what we can and can't say in front of people. That list is always changing, whether it's for civil rights purposes or it's racial purposes. Or, well, I guess it's the same thing, but you know what I mean? It's like, you go through racial and gender sensitivity trainings at work, and so like, you can't say this, and it's kind of, I think, mental illness people are kind of going to fall into that too, that not as bad. I mean, it's not like there's, it's not as bad. It's just that a lot of people don't understand, so they don't know what to say or what to do. And that's changing. More and more people are it seems are looking for ways they can help. I love that I've had people actually ask me, what can I do to help you? Or what can I do? Because they know that they don't know what to do. That's why I retweet or I share on Facebook a lot of this stuff,
Yeah.
Like things that are helpful, ways to find signs of these issues,
Exactly. And that's kind of why I wanted to make sure that I covered stuff not to say, but also stuff to say, how to help when you don't know what to do.
Yeah.
The first big no-no, and I mean big no-no, people, do not ever, ever, ever say to someone, just get over it.
Yeah. I've read a quote, I can't remember who it was by, but it was like, it's like telling people with depression or mental illness to just get over it. It's like telling someone with cancer to just stop having cancer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's the same concept. It does not work, you know.
Or your absolute favorite of all times, smile.
Yeah. It's funny, there is some science behind that if you smile, you can improve your mood, but it's not going to cure your depression. You know, like that kind of a thing. Like, it may make you feel a little bit better for a short time because of the endorphin release, but it's not a long-term fix.
Mm-mm. And I think the thing with just get over it, we all know where it comes from. I mean, that comes from sheer frustration.
Yeah.
You know, you get frustrated, you get fed up, and you don't know what to do, you don't know what to say, and it's like, just get over it, you know?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, what happens is that it comes across as uncaring, even if you don't mean to be. You know, even if you're trying to snap them out of it and to get them motivated or get them moving, just get over it will do nothing but send someone probably into a spiral and make them feel horrible, and it probably will not end well.
I'll say this too. If the person that you say that to happens to have any sort of like rage issues, this probably especially is a bad one to say, because it may just infuriate them, you know.
Yeah,
like,
it's pretty much a hot button.
Yeah, like whereas
stay
like
away from it.
For me, the smile one is, and it's like you know, I can be happy and not have a big grin on my face, right? Like just because I'm not smiling doesn't mean I'm not having a good day. It's just that I'm not a smiler, as you know. Not everybody is.
Exactly. Well, the next one, number 2, is you're not the only one.
It's true.
No.
It's true. You're not alone.
Exactly.
But you're not the only one. It's like, because generally when you're not the only one is said, there's a comparison coming up.
Exactly. You know, and you, a lot of times it's with themselves. You know, people like to share, and by no means am I saying that mental illness, you know, only belongs to people who have been diagnosed.
Right.
That's not it.
Oh, no, you definitely couldn't say that, because, I mean, look how many years I went undiagnosed. You know, I went for, probably 15 years, you know, before no, longer than that. Jeez. Longer than that before I was diagnosed, you know.
Yeah. But it's like a skinny person saying, "Oh my God, I ate so much. I had 3 tablespoons of ice cream."
I'm so
to
fat.
Somebody
Yeah.
who's heavy, overweight, that just finished a pint.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you know, comparisons are great, and you know, everybody likes to feel like they're not alone in the world,
Sure.
and that they're not the only one going through something. There's power in numbers. 100%. I'm all for that.
Yeah.
But just be very cautious that when you're saying you're not the only one, you're not comparing apples and oranges.
Yeah, because if, you know, a great example of this, and again, no dig at anyone, but a great way to sum this was, you know, on Salty Language, episode 47, where I'm talking with Tony about my depression, and I'm talking about, like, bad days, like sad days and stuff, and, you know, where I can't get out of bed. And he's like, we all have those. You know, and I'm like, no, you're not, you don't understand. A day here and there, or the occasional I don't want to get out of bed, is different than I physically can't get myself out of bed and I will lay there for 3 days. You know, and that's kind of where you have to be careful, because you can sympathize. I'm not saying a person can't sympathize, but there is a difference, you know.
Yeah, and so just kind of be aware, because that can be insulting, very unintentional.
Well, it can also feel like you're minimizing a person.
Absolutely.
And that's I think where the problem really tends to be, you know, because if someone does that to me, that's how I feel at times when people do it. Oh, I felt that way. It's like, no, like, this is not the same. Like, I understand what you're saying. I've been there too. We've all been there. Just, you know, it's so.
And on the flip side, I will say, people with mental illness have to also understand that they are not the only ones.
Right.
You know, there are people who have, not even probably, there are people who have it worse.
Yeah.
You know, each person has their own path to walk, and each person has their own stages that they go through. So by no means is it saying that you know, that I am the worst in the world and nobody else understands what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
none of that drama shit.
I think too, you
Sorry.
gotta always make sure you keep intent. You know, it's tough to read intent with people sometimes, but if somebody's doing this kind of stuff, generally they're trying to identify with you in the hopes of making you feel better. You know, like they're coming from a good place. They're not trying to just, oh yeah, you know, don't get me wrong. There are some people you could go, wow, I just stubbed my toe, and they're like, oh yeah, I did that the other day, and you know, and they just basically dismiss what you say and only to tell the story about themselves. But a lot of people, that's not what they're doing. They really are trying to help. They just, like I said, you know, before we started this, that they just don't really know, you know, what they can say or do that actually improves things. They, you know, and identifying with someone, because, you know, the number one feeling in like depression is loneliness and sadness, and you know, so if someone can say, hey, you're not alone, that seems like that would cure them. You know, that, you know, works.
Yeah, that'll make you feel better.
Right.
So, I mean, the next one, again, this comes from frustration, so I completely get where you know, why you would say it, but just don't say it, which is, don't use this as an excuse.
Yeah.
I mean, it is so easy to feel overwhelmed by a person's condition and begin to think they're using this as an excuse to avoid their responsibilities.
Yeah. Well,
be so careful.
Let me ask you this. What's the difference between an excuse and a reason?
You know, it's all in the perspective.
Mass acceptance is the best answer I can come up with.
There you go.
You know, if you have 30 people in a workplace and one calls in and basically says, I need a mental health day, everyone's going to go, well, we all need mental health days. But if I call in and say, oh, man, I can't stay off the toilet, everyone else is going to go, oh, yeah, well, hey, we know it's been going around.
Yep.
Totally acceptable. So, you know.
True. And that's, yeah, once you use a reason a couple times in a row, all of a sudden it becomes an excuse.
Right.
So, you know, and you can't, you know, someone who's in a coma, you can't fault them from not getting out of bed.
Right.
You know, it's kind of like, meh. I'm not trying to say that, you know, I'm not trying to compare. I'm kind of comparing apples and oranges myself here, but
it's not as apples and oranges as you think from my perspective, where I've laid in bed for 4 or 5 days and not been able to get out. So, I mean, again, the only difference is I would get up and go to the bathroom. That's the difference. Other than that, I just lay in bed. No TV, I'm not laying there watching movies, being lazy. I'm just laying there. You know, so, yeah. That's why I said it's not quite as different as you think. It's actually not that far off, aside from...
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, the next one kind of goes hand in hand. You're not trying.
Yeah.
You know, and it's equivalent to what you see in army movies, in military movies, where someone is giving their 100%, but yet they have the captain, chief, major, whatever, screaming and yelling at them. That's what you aren't trying does. It's not motivating to a lot of people. Some people it is.
Yeah.
But to a lot of people, it is not motivating. It's disheartening and very hurtful.
Yeah.
And for me personally, when someone says I'm not trying and I'm trying my best, it pretty much breaks me.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you know, again, from my perspective, you know, I already have a complex of not good enough. And if I am trying as hard as I can and it's not good enough for someone else, that just stacks another plate on the pile, you know? So, yeah, that can be a really bad one.
Yeah, that's a rough one. Another one, you can't be like this forever. It's like, you cannot remain this depressed forever.
You're right, because
you have to
eventually
do
it'll get worse.
Yep.
Or
And
you'll start looking for ways out.
Exactly. And that's when really, really bad things happen.
Yeah.
So, saying stuff like this can place an insurmountable amount of stress on the individual and even lead to worsening depression.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just,
I mean,
basically,
my answer...
that does nothing but make someone feel inadequate.
Yeah.
And there is no benefit for saying that way.
Right. I mean, my answer is like, if someone were to say that to me, it's like, I know you're right, but I can't. You can't see the forest for the trees at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just don't see anything on the horizon. Like, what am I supposed to do? You're already at a feeling of loneliness, loss. It's so that's kind of where my head's at. Again, all of the things I go with, I'm using myself as the example.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of where it is, because I've had people say this to me, and I'm always like, you're right, but what do I do?
Mm-hmm.
Like, or even if you do know what to do, the hardest thing for a person with anxiety, depression to do is take the first step. So, I know,
Mm-hmm.
even if I know what the solution is, it's not easy to get there.
And forever is a hard concept for anyone to deal with,
Yeah.
but forever to someone with mental illness is incomprehensible. I mean, you don't get to think forever, because if you start thinking about forever, you will freeze yourself in one spot, curl up in a ball, and do absolutely nothing but cry.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's enough to, like, okay, I'm going to get out of bed, I'm going to shower, I'm going to go to work.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned that last episode where people
Mm-hmm.
with depression, they tell them, like, even if that's all that's on your to-do list,
Mm-hmm.
make that to-do list that way, much like we said earlier, jokingly, but truthfully also, in that sometimes you have to just celebrate, hey, you know what? I've gotten out of bed the last 4 days. I've taken a shower. I've put on clean clothes. I've made myself lunch. That can be a huge victory for a lot of people. As sad as that seems to people who don't fully understand, that can be a massive victory.
Mm-hmm.
I've like I said, I've lived it. I spent the better part of 2 weeks in bed based on depression, and afterwards, like the next 3 days, I was like, I have to get out of this house, and it was just to walk down to get the mail. That was how I got out of the house. That was my thing. I got up, I took a shower, clean clothes, walked down and got the mail. Those were my big victories for a week. You know what I mean? And that, like I said, to most people, they're like, really?
Right.
I had to get up each day for work, and yeah, you did.
A friend of mine, she takes care of her mother, and she makes, because her mom needs medicine on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
And she always makes the appointment to pick up the medicine on midday Saturday. And she says that she's too vain to go out of the house without her makeup and hair done. And she does it purposely. So every Saturday, regardless how she feels, she has to get up, she has to take a shower and get dressed and put her makeup on, because her mom has to have the medicine.
Well, I get it. Well, like and this, people listening may not. For the longest time, I was never a person who would lay around in like pajamas. Because to me, I knew that felt like I couldn't do that. I had to get up, take a shower, put on clothes, clean clothes and stuff. Like anytime you could have picked random ass times to come over, and you'll always see me in actual clothes. You rarely, unless you catch me sleeping, you generally will not find me in my sleep clothes. That's not who I am, and that's changed over the last years, and my depression's gotten worse, but for years I was adamant about that. Like, I would not, like I said, it didn't matter who it was coming over. If I knew someone was coming over, I would immediately go change, even, and I sleep in a t-shirt and shorts. So it's not like I'm sleeping in, just my underwear or something. Like I'm totally presentable. It's just, nope. There's that difference. Those are pajamas. These are clothes,
Right.
So, yeah.
So the next one is get out more.
Mm-hmm.
So, you don't want to come across as judgmental or uncaring. So you just tell someone suffering from mental illness to, just get out more. It makes it sound as if you think the person is either strange or too isolated.
Now, I will say this. There is science behind this. Anyway, sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, that's all right. But you want to be careful at how you share your concerns of the person's isolation.
Right.
So just, be very sensitive because, like you just mentioned, scientifically, there is a lot to be said about getting out of the house.
Well, we talked about it a little bit last week, remember, with social media about, be careful that you don't let social media replace, like if you were part of a book club, don't turn that into a Skype book club. Unless, once in a while, maybe everyone can't make it because a babysitter or this or that. Well, hey, let's do it on Skype tonight. Okay, that's fine. But don't turn every week into that, because when you do, you start losing the interactions. And on those levels, I get it. And again, there is science behind it, much like the Smile one. And so some of these others, there are things behind them that make sense. But the problem is, much like a person who is an addict, change has to come from the person who has the problem. It has to be initiated essentially by them or wanted. Otherwise, it doesn't get received real well.
And I think something that Tony said, Tony is Bryan's best friend, for those who don't know. Something Tony said, and he was actually prompted by his wife, is just keep calling. Yeah. Just keep calling, just keep asking. Very nice about it, very polite about it. You want to help someone get out more and stuff. Just be available and just keep, hey, I'm doing this. You want to come along? Hey, I'm going here. You want to come along?
Yeah.
Just keep asking, not pushing, but asking and offering.
Right. And people do that. I know there's someone that I've talked to online that their best friend comes over twice a week, and whenever they come over, they're always like, hey, let's, come on, let's go grab some food. Like, even if they just go through the drive-thru and sit in the car, concept. It's like, let's just go, come with me while, I got to get something to eat. Come on, that type of thing, to try to get them to come on. And it doesn't always work, but it's the idea that it's not much, or it could be. It depends, But it's an effort, but it's not a high-pressure type. It's not like, hey, man, you show up at someone's house and be like, hey, I got tickets to a concert tonight. Let's go.
Right.
So it's like, whoa, But, like I said, it's like, because even if you're feeling like, you'd be like, hey, come on, let's go through the drive-thru. I need to grab some eats or something. Be like, fine, I've done that plenty of times with my nephew, where he'll call me up and be like, hey, I'm going to do this. You want to roll with me? And I'll be like, sure, and do I want to? Not really. But I also know, like, in my head, I'm like, I need to get out more, So, like I said earlier, I know that and I try, but a person who doesn't want to or doesn't feel that they can, it's one of those things, like, if you offer, just don't put extra pressure on the person. Just offer. If they say no, as hard as it's got to be to keep getting rejected, just accept it,
Yeah.
And know that they're not stabbing at you when they say no. It's more that they're stabbing at themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And
it really is. And it's something to really think about it. Because think about how you feel when you are absolutely exhausted, had a really horribly rough day, and you want to do nothing but just sit by yourself in a quiet, dark room and just relax.
Yeah. Welcome to Days That End in Y for me.
Yeah.
that's the best way I can describe it to someone. Yeah. It really is. Picture your most exhausting day at work, except just remove the work. You just wake up feeling that way. And you feel that way all day. For days. That's the best way I can describe depression to somebody.
And then that same moment, picture someone opening the door to the dark room and saying, "Hey, guess what? We're gonna all go out and have some drinks and go have some party. You want to come with us?" Most often people would respond with, "You know what? I'm good tonight."
Yeah.
And that's so when someone says no to you, kind of keep that in the back of your head that maybe they're going through a day like that where they just need to decompress and just kind of be by themselves. But maybe tomorrow they will feel like it. So just keep that door open, keep asking them, and by all means, do not expect them to reach out to you, because more often than not, your mental illness isolates and will prevent them from asking for help and will prevent them from reaching out to somebody else.
Yeah.
So it's almost like you have to be constantly reaching out to them, and it's frustrating and it's irritating, and it is probably the number one reason I think people lose friends is because they give up. And you know what? No one can blame you. If you've given up on somebody with mental illness, no one will ever blame you for that.
Yeah.
Because it's harder than hard to stay friends with someone.
Yeah.
So, don't
I'll
feel
be
bad.
straight out and say that I know I've strained relationships, and maybe I've ended relationships with people based on that, and it isn't that I want to. And I've told people this, like I'll talk to people online and I'll tell them, be like, just so you know, I'm terrible at like nurturing relationships, and that's not because I'm a guy or whatever. It's because I become detached quickly, and it's just it's hard for me not to, because basically there's always reasons like, oh, are they looking at me like that? Like it's a constant doubt, and it's awful. It just is. But I fully understand if a person basically listen, I'll tell you, as a person suffering with depression, I've talked to other people with depression, and after a few minutes or a little while of it, I want to help anybody I can. But man, after a little bit, I'm like, I can't do this. I can't handle anymore. And it's because in my head, it's like, I've already got enough, So I fully understand how other people can perceive that and go, I just can't be around this negativity all the time. I totally get it, or why it's after a while, you're just like, to hell with it. Just like if someone you knew 100% was fine, and every time you called them and they're like, nah, I'm this, or after a few times, you're just like, I'm not going to bother because they're just going to say no. I get it. It's frustrating.
So I mean, we get it.
Real quick to interrupt this, I found, and I wanted to find this for before, and I just stumbled on it.
Oh, cool.
It's well, actually, you know what? I'll save it for the end, because you like to do like a quote before we're done and stuff. So I have a really good quote here, but sorry. Go ahead. Keep going with the list.
All right. So the last one on my list that I'm going to share with everybody today, the things not to say, is quit being lazy.
Yeah.
You know what? There is a line, and I'll let you know I am a very lazy person. I'm a very lazy person with an isolating mental illness, which are not a good combo.
Very true.
Not a good combo. I have to ask myself this on a daily basis when I can't do something. It's like, am I being lazy? Or is this my mental illness kicking in, preventing me from doing it?
Yeah.
So it's more often than not, it's a combination of both.
Yeah, and because one easily facilitates the other. And
absolutely.
Take your pick, and it facilitates the other. It doesn't, you know what I mean? It's like I had mentioned before about like anxiety and people with IBS or whatever, how it's a horrible, just a spiral. Like, it's one starts the other or the other way around.
What's the name of that snake that eats its own tail? Is it like an omnibus?
I don't remember. I know what you're talking about. Like, oh, shoot. I can't remember. I know what you're talking about. Essentially like a Mobius strip, basically.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. It's the dragon that eats its own tail. It's like a continuous circle.
Yeah.
Yeah. They feed each other, and it's. Yeah. So we know we're lazy people. It's okay. It doesn't need to be pointed out.
Well, sometimes it does. I mean, don't get me wrong. There is something to be said for people putting their foot in the ass of someone with depression. Sometimes, as I've said constantly, I always need at least one friend that's a shover.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's the type that when I'm standing there going, I don't know, mama, and they're just like, come on, you know? Like, I need that devil on my shoulder all the time, you know, because the angel or devil on the other shoulder is just too mopey. You know, I need one that's like, come on, you pansy, do it. You know, all right, fine.
Right.
You know, and I've been lucky enough to have a few friends like that. And there's times where it's like, ugh, get off my back. But a lot of the times I'm like, I know they're doing this for my own good. It's like, you know, the person that just shoves you out of a plane, you know, because you're too terrified to actually jump out of, you know, to
right.
What do you call it? To skydive, you know, and they just shove you, you know, or the parent that just throws the kid in the water and says swim, you know.
And, you know, and you are absolutely right. So I will retract some of what I said earlier, but
even with that, there's a very fine line.
Yeah, you just have to be very, very aware of the place that person is in.
Yeah.
At that moment. And accept if they say no, you have to accept it. A little needling sometimes is not a bad thing. A little push, not a bad thing. But just be very cautious and very careful.
Yeah.
Because last thing you want to do is make them feel worse, of course. So, now, onto a more positive strain, things to say. So, you're dealing with someone who has depression or mental illness. What do you say? How do you do? How do you help? First thing, I'm here for you. You know, something as simple as, I'm here for you. Lets them know that you're available, but doesn't put any pressure or stress on them. They don't have to do anything with it. They know you're available if they need you, but you're not hovering and you're not pushing them. So it's very nice, very comforting thing to say.
Yeah.
Next one.
Oddly enough, again, similar to someone, you know, at a funeral, you could say the same thing.
Exactly.
Or that just suffered a loss. Yeah, yeah.
You know what? Everybody needs to hear that so many times in their lives. You know, every day.
The worst feeling in the world is feeling alone.
Exactly. The next thing you can say, you matter. Very, very powerful 2 words.
I will also go one step further on this in that not only should people say that if they know a person suffers from it, that includes you. Like, if you know you suffer from it, look in the mirror and give yourself the Stuart Smalley speech. I mean, seriously, it sounds ridiculous. You feel ridiculous doing it, but I do it all the time. And it makes you feel goofy, but at the same time, you need to boost your confidence. You know, you need that, you know. Like, I'm good enough. I'm fine how I am. You know, you know, that kind of a thing.
And for those of you who are not familiar with Stuart Smalley, it was a sketch from Saturday Night Live, I want to say early 90s?
Yeah, something like that. That Al Franken did, yep.
And basically, it's a gentleman who does a lot of self-help. And he always ends his show by looking in the mirror and saying, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and gosh darn it, people like me.
Yep.
Gosh darn it.
Nope. Like doggone it.
Doggone it. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't mess it up. Ultimately, go look it up on YouTube. I'm sure it's all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff. But
it's a joke, and people, like I said, you feel ridiculous doing it, but you should do it. It's a very good step.
Absolutely. Self-affirmations, great stuff. All right. Next one. Let me help. Let me help. You know what?
That one's a little weird to me.
A little odd to me, too.
That one, I'm going to be 100% honest. That one would make me feel pressured. Because And picture, you're doing yard work and someone's like, hey, let me help you. You're like, nah, I got it. Like, let me help you. You know what I mean? Like, in my head, that's kind of how that plays. And, yeah, that would make me feel more pressured than, like, if you need help, I'm here, So.
And that's, yeah. I mean, I think a better way of phrasing it for me would be, can I help? And
Yeah.
most often not, it's no.
Mm-hmm.
I think a comic that I saw on Facebook the other day had one character, and I might have mentioned this last week, and if I did, I apologize. I'm repeating myself. But had one character on the floor holding his knees and being very sad and very down. And the other character comes up to him and is like, hey, what's up? You want to go do something? He's like, no. Are you okay? No. You know what? Wait right here. I'll be right back. The other character goes and grabs a bunch of blankets and is like, come with me.
Mm.
Takes the other character, and then together they go under the blankets. And he's like, you feel better? And the character that was sad said, I'm getting there.
Yeah.
And it was just, sometimes it's that intrinsic, how can you help? Sometimes it's just by being there, sitting next to me on the couch watching TV, or, having a glass of pop or something, just something very banal, whatever.
Yeah.
Very relaxing and just simple.
Yeah.
Can make the biggest difference. That's how you can help.
Well, yeah, because that's accepting that they're not okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, if someone says, how are you, and you say, not good,
mm-hmm.
the answer to that is, oh, well, I hope you feel better soon. I mean, it is, but it's like, that doesn't,
mm-hmm.
like, it's just like, great, thanks. But
yeah.
at the same time, it's like, if I say it's bad, that I'm not doing good, that's okay. Like, it's okay for us to not feel good or not have a good day. You know what I mean? We all do it.
Mm-hmm.
No matter, mental illness or not, we all, we all run through that. So that's something that a lot of people have a hard time with, but it's something that needs to be accepted also, is that having a bad day is okay sometimes,
Mm-hmm. And that ties right into the next one, which is depression is real. Sometimes it's just enough to hear another person, someone that you care a lot about, tell you that they believe you. They believe in what you're going through.
Right.
And they may not understand, but they know it's real.
Yeah, because it's not like having a broken foot or something to where you can look and go, wow, hey, you have a cast on.
Mm-hmm.
You can't prove to somebody easily. You can talk to them, and that's about all you can do.
Mm-hmm.
You can't show them that you're depressed,
And then the next one, I'm kind of on the fence about.
Okay.
It's, there is hope.
This is a big problem for me, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the there is hope, it gets better message. I understand, and it's coming from a good place. But, again, I've suffered from depression since I was 12 years old. I'll be 37 here in a few months. It hasn't gotten better. It's gotten worse. My life has not gotten better over that time. It's had moments. There's been very good things within that time, but my depression and stuff, like, what got better? When they tell kids, oh, the bullying gets better. For a lot of people, it does, because once you're out of high school, most people leave you the hell alone,
Mm-hmm.
But the damage is done. I got bullied like crazy through school, and that damage was done, and that doubt and different stuff is still with me. I actually had a high school bully apologize to me. And,
wow.
And I told him, I said, listen, man, it's, that's water under the bridge, and we're not who we were then. But I'm going to tell you, that fucked me up. Excuse my language.
Mm-hmm.
It messed me up bad, and I'm not blaming them directly for what I deal with today, because, there's hereditary issues and various other things that have happened along the way, but it certainly didn't help. You know, and like I said, for a lot of people, like every time I see a celebrity go, oh, it gets better, it's like, you know what, screw you. Yeah, it got better for you because you got lucky. You know, what about those of us who don't get rich and famous? You know, the ones who actually still deal with this stuff. Like nobody's, I don't know. There's so many people where it hasn't gotten better. Again, would you say Robin Williams got better?
Right.
I mean, he got rich. You know, all sorts of money, fame. He had a family. He had all the things that most people would love to have in life. And look how it ended up. And I'm not in any way knocking Robin Williams. As anyone who knows me knows, I had nothing but the most respect for him. And it's one of the few celebrity deaths that really, really rattled me. Actually, I wrote a blog about it. But it didn't get better for him. You know? So, I don't know.
Well, I think, you know, they talk a little bit more about it underneath. And what they put is, we are not on this earth to see through one another. Sorry, my screen just went blank. There we go. We are not on this earth to see through one another, but to see one another through. And I think if by saying there is hope, I think there might be better ways of putting it than that. But basically saying that you're not alone, that I'm going to be here with you.
Yeah.
You know, I think...
That I agree with, yeah.
Right. Be here. I want to be here with you.
Yeah.
I'm going to be standing by your side. I think those are a little bit better than there is hope.
Right. I mean, because I really... Just saying there is hope and using that as your way of getting through, I mean, that's just blind faith. And the problem with blind faith is that for a lot of people, again, like me and such, that suffer the way I do, you know, I've had people, you know, excuse me, it's going to get better or whatever. And it's like, based on what? Like, I'm looking down the road here, and how can you see something I can't see here? You know, I can't just go, oh, you're right, it has to get... No, it doesn't have to get better. Things can get worse, you know? Even when you're at rock bottom, things can get worse, you know?
And what I alluded to earlier about the whole forever thing,
yeah,
try to stay away from saying things that are very open-ended and referring to the future, because it's just too much. There's just too much out there to question, to, you know, to basically wrap your mind around. Yeah. You know, your mind's busy with so many other things.
It's even like, I don't understand how people, like, they dread Mondays so much. And I've never, even before, like, you know, when my depression wasn't that bad, I never dreaded Mondays. I never understood that. You know, like, so many people, it's almost like once Tuesday hits, it's like, oh, what a relief. It's like, is it? You know, I mean, you spend 5 of 7 days a week at work. It seems like the quicker you just straight out stop being so negative about Mondays, everything else seems to be easier. I don't understand, you know, so it's like, you know, like you were saying, the forever thing, but even not just I mean, people will start dreading Monday come Thursday, you know, like, or on Saturday they start dreading Mondays, and I'm like, geez, like, I suffer from depression, and I don't even do that, you know?
You kind of have to balance between planning for the future and looking after today, because you really gotta, you know, keep your focus on the moment as much as you can.
Right. And I think that's the way I try to be with it now, is that it's just like, I had enough stuff on my plate today. I ain't worried about tomorrow, you know, or Tuesday, or, you know, it's like, I'll leave those worries for when I wake up and it's Tuesday, you know?
Yeah, exactly. The next one is, you can survive this. I like this one because survive has many, many meanings.
Yeah.
You know, It's not you can beat this or you're going to beat this or anything like that.
Yeah.
You can survive this.
Right.
I think that's more appropriate to living in the moment and, getting through things one day at a time.
Yeah.
Surviving something and succeeding and beating something are two very different things.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Because I can, the examples running through my head as you're saying this, and I'm just like, somebody who's fought cancer, they may have survived, but I don't know if I'd call it, a full-on victory. I mean, because, or like a veteran, they survived a war, but I don't know if they would tell you that they won, and
yeah,
same idea. It's, and this is a constant fight, so you have to, you really do endure mental illness. You really don't win,
Right.
And I'm not saying that to try to sound depressing at all. I just,
you just don't. I mean,
yeah.
There is no win.
Yeah.
You're dealing with it for the rest of your life.
Yeah, you don't get
medicated
cured
or
from
not.
It. Yeah.
This is the life. This is the hand you're dealt, and you got to figure it out.
Yeah.
And hopefully, with the help of people and doctors and all that good jazz,
right?
You can, you can live a good, healthy, happy life.
Mm-hmm.
The next one, I love this one because it's so honest. I'll do my best to understand. If someone said that to me, that would just bring such a smile to my face. It makes me smile just even saying it.
Yeah, yeah.
Someone that cares enough to try to understand and to try to be empathetic. You can't ask for much more than that out of someone.
No, you can't. You're right. Yeah, because it takes a lot to do that, to actually put the effort forth.
Exactly.
Like I wrote a blog about people asking, how are you? Or are you okay or whatever? And I'm like, the major problem with that is that most people don't want to hear the answer, So if you come to me and you say, I'll try my best to understand, it's like, okay, you're telling me that essentially not only are you in this for the long haul, but you're willing to do what you can to help, not just, look at me funny or whatever. Exactly. Yeah.
And that you're going to try, which trying means there's going to be some failure. Yeah. I will try my best to understand. And I completely get that. It's like, you know what? You are being 100% honest in saying that you may not always be able to understand, but you're going to give it your 100%.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Because, you definitely understand how somebody couldn't understand this or that. Because a lot of the behaviors from mental illness don't seem logical,
Because they're not.
Right. Or they're too logical, depending on what you suffer from,
True. The next one, you won't drive me away. I'm kind of a mixed on that one because that's almost a challenge.
Yeah, that's my decision, not yours, in fairness.
Right.
Because at some point I can no one could tell me I can't drive them away and actually win that fight. So like you said, it almost makes me want to be like, oh yeah?
Watch this.
Yeah.
So I appreciate the sentiment behind it.
Yeah.
The sentiment behind it.
Do you know where I think this one actually really falls almost is this one I could see being really important from like a spouse.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're not going to drive me away. Like, don't worry about that. You aren't going to, push me away. I'm here, and I like I said, I get that these are all from a good place. It's funny. It seems like you and I have more issues with these than we did the other list.
It's true. Some of them you do.
Yeah. This one's kind of 50-50. I think it's how it's delivered, Because, like you said, you have to be careful that it doesn't seem like you're laying a challenge,
And just by chance anyone's picking this up on microphone, I have a dog sitting next to me that's snoring very, very loudly.
Mm.
So if you hear little noises and stuff, that would be Horatio.
Mm.
So next to the next one is I care about you. You know,
Yeah,
I like that, and I think that's a good one.
I do too. I don't have a problem with that one. That's
Mm-mm.
because really a lot of people don't, and this is just an in general life thing. You know, we all learn whenever someone is lost how much we're like, damn it, I should have told them I love them more or whatever. It's one of those things that, and again, I've told people different times through my blogs and just talking and stuff that it's like, you never know when saying I care about you or I love you or whatever along those lines is the difference between that person, you know, giving up completely or doing something really bad, you know?
Exactly. I
Cassettes.
read
Yeah.
something online the other day, and a girl was dating a boy, and the guy would smile and wave at everybody he passed when he was driving his car. He'd smile and wave at everyone. And she asked him one day, she's like, "Why do you do that?" And he's like, "Because I read somewhere that people who are depressed or thinking about suicide said if only someone would have smiled and waved,
Yeah.
you know, that would have changed things."
Yeah.
He's like, "So I choose to smile and wave at everybody because I don't know who I might be helping."
Right. Exactly.
hmm
Yep.
You know, so tell people you love them, tell people you care about them. It's good for us all.
Yeah. That's what I was saying. Just general, just in, and that also allows you to have no regrets.
Exactly.
You know, like I said, again, I keep bringing depressing examples because that's who I am. But, you know, when towards the end with my dad died of terminal lung cancer. And towards the end there, every night before I went to bed, I said, I love you. And that was not really something him and I did, you know, because we're two men and whatever. That's just not who we were, you know. And I'm so glad that I said that to him. It ended up, the night he ended up dying, I said it to him. And I don't have a regret of, I didn't even get to tell him I love him, or I didn't get to say this. I don't have that regret. My brothers do.
Exactly.
You know, other people do. And I don't, because I just did it, you know.
It's all the, you know, regardless of how you have to do it, or, you know, the whole I'm hugging you but I'm hitting you because I'm patting you on the back type of thing.
Yeah.
You know, guys do it in all sorts of odd ways, but show people that you care, tell them that you care.
Yeah.
The next one is, we'll get through this together. I think the most important part of that is the together part.
Yeah.
Because having mental illness, as we've talked about, is very isolating. And just knowing that someone cares enough to be there with you, to stay with you, to be there to help you, it means the world. And let's see, I think we've got one more. Nope, it's an ad, people.
Yeah.
Wah, wah, wah.
Of course.
So that's the end of my lists. But I think in hindsight, there are some really, really good points that were brought up from both lists. The stuff not to say and the stuff to say.
Yeah. Yeah, because the stuff to say, it's pretty much could be really easily summed up by just, you know, letting somebody know you're there.
Exactly.
You know,
and
that
being there.
Yeah. Just like more so than the you won't run me off kind of an idea, more of a like I'm not leaving. You know, like if you push me away, that's one. But I'm here. I'm in it for you. You know, we're friends. We're gonna be friends. You know, I know this isn't gonna be easy, but here it is. Which actually kind of leads me into a quote from Stephen Fry, which is, if you know someone who is depressed, please resolve never to ask them why. Depression isn't a straightforward response to a bad situation. Depression just is, like the weather. Try to understand the blackness, the lethargy, the hopelessness and loneliness they are going through. Be there for them when they come through the other side. It's hard to be a friend to someone who's depressed, but it is one of the kindest, noblest, and best things you will ever do.
100%.
Yep. And like I said, I fully understand if like you said earlier, I have no negative judgments of people if they walk away and stuff, because it's so difficult to do, to stay, So, but if you do stay, kudos to you, because it can be frustrating, I'm sure. It can take a lot of effort, but it's,
it can be very, very rewarding as well.
It can make a huge difference for somebody. It really can, just being there. Like I said, I know there's, a person that years ago that I knew that committed suicide, and a friend of his, he had called him and just wanted him, was like, hey man, I just need to talk to somebody. And they were like, I can't right now, I'm busy and whatever. And then the guy killed himself in the meantime. And you have a friend who now beats himself up, or for years beat himself up over it. Like, had I just been there, and, so it can be really awful for sometimes, but, that there's so many people who just being there is enough. Like, that they're not going to kill themselves, but they won't give up if they feel like they've got someone in their corner, And sometimes that's all you need to keep the fight going, just to know that when you turn around, you've got your cut man in the corner, and, you've got your coach, and everybody's waiting for you. Someone's going to rub your shoulders when the round's over, That's all you need.
Exactly. So with that, I think it's time for us to kind of wrap things up.
Yep.
And let y'all know that we are here for you. So if you need somebody to talk to, you want to share whatever you want to share with us, we are very open, and we'd love to hear from you. So you can reach out to me on Twitter at Jen's Crazy Life, and you can shoot us an email at thecrazylifepodcast@outlook.com. Visit our website at crazylifepodcast@weebly.com. I think you're seeing a pattern there. And Bryan, how can they reach you?
You can reach me on Twitter at Stunami, or through the other podcast I'm on, Salty Language. That's at salty_language, or through the show email or whatnot. Or you can read Salty Language email is saltylanguage@gmail.com, and the website for that show is saltylanguage.com.
There you go.
Having said all of this, like we said, if you just need someone to talk to, we're here for you. But I do want to, as always, make the point that we are not trained professionals. We're not therapists. We're not doctors. So if you feel that you're in a bad way, contact, a medical professional, or call like the suicide hotline number or something to that effect. And, but if you need help, please seek help.
Because you matter to us, and not just for the numbers. You actually matter to us.
And
so with that,
well,
I'm going to say goodbye to
one last thing. Yeah, speaking of people who matter to us, our new intro, which is titled Life Sucks, was done for us by our pal Henno, who can be found on Twitter at Ida Henno, IDAHENNO.
Love you, Henno. Thank you so much for all your hard work that you put into that, and hopefully everybody will enjoy the music. One more thing we forgot.
What's that?
The challenge.
Oh, yeah.
So, since I did so horribly with last week's challenge, I am going to make it this week's challenge. And I'm going to add on top of that, cleaning up my house. So I'm doing a double challenge this week, and I'm really going to be focusing hard on getting myself up and motivated to get this place in shape. And how about you, sir?
Well, I'm definitely still have the same goals as last week because that's something I want and need to do anyway. Yeah, I was just thinking about adding something to it, but I just don't think that's a good idea.
No, and you know what? I
Yeah.
think it's a good idea to even reach out and ask for help. You know, if those of you out there have some ideas for Bryan to kind of help get his inspiration flowing, or if you have some inspirations of your own, definitely shoot them over to us and help us out. You know, we've got some new music because of inspiration, and nothing is more inspiring than when you can put something out into the universe and someone else can take it and run with it and make something even better. So help us out, respond, and let us know what's going on with you.
Yep. And again.
All right. With that, we will see you, or technically you will hear us next week with some more talk on mental illness and all the crazy fun stuff that happens in life.